Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Reloading Bench. So basically, as I promised, I'm going to start bringing you guys content. And what I'm trying to do is get some stuff stacked up and get it ready ahead of time. Because I'm actually going back to work soon. So when March rolls around, it's going to be kind of hard for me to make these kind of videos. So you've probably already seen the M4E1, Aero M4E1 video testing in N140 and AR comp. So what we're going to do now is I'm actually going to shoot my K31. I have owned this rifle since I think about 2009, and if you actually go back on my channel and look, I think you'll see the first video I ever made with this thing was probably sometime around late 2009, early 2010. It's a 1937 Swiss K31. Stock is in pretty rough shape. Not for me, it was like that when I bought it a long time ago. Bluing's kind of worn, but you know, this thing's always really shot well. And I've always thought it would be a good rifle to make some content with, do some hand loading with. So what I did this morning is I have a ton of 7.5 Swiss Preview Partisan brass. I took one and made myself a case gauge because I don't have one for my Hornady overall link tool. And the reason I had to do this is a lot of people may not be aware, the chamber on the K31s is a little different from the K11s and 1911 long rifles. They're very short-throated because the original GP11 load, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was somewhere around a 174 to 175 grain bullet. But what I do know about the GP11 bullet is it was very seeking. Very, very low drag bullet. And the reason they had to do that is because the chamber on these rifles, the throat and the lead was so short, they had to do that, otherwise the round wouldn't chamber. So they're very long. Well, in order to shoot a more tangent ogive bullet, like what we're going to be shooting today, 168 grain Sierra Match King, they have to be seated pretty deep in the case. So I made a case length gauge this morning, found our overall length, backed off about 20 thousandths because we really don't want to be into the lands with this rifle. We really don't want to raise that shot start pressure up too high. And so we're going to be seating these at 2.880. Poking around in quick load this morning, the propellant I settled on was Victoria N140. Good propellant choice for this size case. We're not going to get that good case fill that we're really looking for. We're going to get close. One of the propellant I'd like to try, and it didn't look like when I was poking around in quick load and GRT, it didn't really look like it was going to work, but I kind of think if I went out and shot a couple and got some velocity calibrations and came back and changed some values, that it would actually work, so we may also test that too. Preview Partisan brass, it has been sized, but the shoulder has not been touched because they've only been fired once. The primers we're using are Winchester WLRs. I've had these for a long time. I switched to CCI many years ago. In fact, I think I've had these since Obama's first administration. Pretty sure I paid $32 for the bricks that I have per 1,000, and I'm pretty sure I felt like I got screwed back then when I paid $32 for them. Wish we could still have those prices today. And again, we're shooting 168 grain Sierra Match Kings. Our charge today will be 43 grains of VV N140 with an estimated velocity of 2,512 feet per second. That could be subject to change. We need to see where we come into that. That is pretty close to the minimum load off of VV's website with a different 168 grain projectile, or maybe 170, somewhere in that weight range. But again, this is just for velocity calibration. We're just trying to get some velocity to see where we're at, see where our pressure's at before we turn it up a notch and be where we need to be. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys is you are about to see shooting this rifle at the range. However, I'm getting up there in age. I'm not old yet, but eyes aren't working as well as they used to. If you notice, I wear prescription lenses now, whereas I used to not. So this morning I ordered a Bad Ace Tactical long eye relief scope mount for this rifle. I've got a bunch of pistol scopes laying around, kind of a handgun hunting junkie. So I've got some pistol scopes laying around, so I'm going to put one on this one. And the other milsurp you guys are going to see here soon in some videos, I've also got one coming for it. Because I really want to give these rifles a fair shot at showing what they're capable of. And I don't think me with iron sights at 100 yards now could be capable of that. But I also don't want to permanently modify them because, I mean, they are collector's items, and it's not like K31s are just floating around as freely as they used to. Some of them have come in. They are available, but, you know, like anything, with military surplus these days, as soon as it comes in and it's available and the price is a little low, people snatch them up, and it's like we're back to where we were. It's like it never even happened. So with that being said, I'm going to set this rifle aside. I got the auto trickler ready to go. I've got a bunch of prep brass in the tumbler. Got these ready to go. They were annealed. I would have shown you guys this, but if you've never used an amp, when those cooling fans kick on, you can forget making a video. It's not going to happen. So we'll get these loaded up. I'll show you guys this, and then we'll get out to the range. Helpful little tip for those of you that have a auto trickler. If you have a spare phone laying around, keep it around. Because that sure does make life a whole lot easier when you're making videos. Because right now I'm using my phone. But I have ordered a new camera. Should be here soon. So hopefully content that you see on the channel here soon is going to be a little higher quality. Now I know those of you not familiar with lab grade equipment are probably going to see that spit out 43.02, and you're going to ask me, does that matter? 2/100ths of a grain in the type of rifle we're shooting in? It doesn't matter. We're not going to see that difference across the chronograph. Using one of my old Lee dies. Oh yeah, they're still too long. Oh yeah, for stuff like this, I don't spend a whole lot of money. I don't think it's too necessary. That's not to say that these rifles don't shoot well. They shoot exceptionally well. I just don't see the need in spending a lot of money on an equipment for them. Because at the end of the day, they are just range toys. Which I'm hoping I'll be able to get these out to the range for you guys. Past 100 yards, shooting paper and get them on some steel. Make some hits at extended distance. I think that would be pretty cool. Almost there, not much further to go. A lot of the 7.5 Swiss dies that are available are designed with the older rifles in mind, where they have the longer throats and the longer free bore, and we're shooting the older style ammunition. So like when you're seating bullets this deep for a K31, you kind of start running out of adjustment range on your seating dies. Not all full-length sizing dies for the 7.5 Swiss are made equally. Redding is the only company that I know of that actually makes a full-length sizing die cut to size the brass similar to the chambers found in the K31. However, again, these are military rifles. The chambers will vary a little bit. So it doesn't mean that you're just going to be able to take your Redding sizing die and crank it all the way down to the shell holder and expect to be fine. That's not how that's going to work. Everything going well here. Everything's seating nice and smooth. Man, this is going to be fun. I haven't shot this rifle in so long. With any kind of seriousness, I haven't shot it in a long time. But you'll probably see me shooting this at the range with the iron sights. Again, for this first initial step, I'm not really worried about what it looks like on paper. Dispersion right now is not really a concern. I just need velocity. So, you know, that's not to say we're not going to try. We're going to try to shoot as best as we can, but I'm just not too concerned with what happens on the paper right now. But once we've got our velocities and we know what we need to load and where our powder charger needs to be, I've got 30 cases ready to go. They're in the tumbler, they're already sized, cleaned up, ready to be loaded. And we're actually going to go out and do probably, I'm going to say with this being a somewhat pencil profile barrel and being in a full length wood stock with a top handguard, we'll probably do a 5 by 5x6. I don't really see a need in shooting 10 consecutive shots and getting it real hot. So we'll shoot these, we'll come back, we'll load up our 30 with our new powder charge, load where we need to be, and we'll take that to the range also, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, welcome back. So we're back from the range. If you watched the previous video with the M4E1, we just shot our calibration loads with the 223. We just finished up our calibration loads with the 7.5 Swiss. So again, just a little recap, 43 grains of N140 under a 168 grain Match King. We came in right at 2,495 feet per second, so actually pretty close to what Quick Load had predicted initially at our powder temperature, which was 2,512, so very close. Standard deviation of 17, again, not a big deal because that's not what this is about. We're not ready to push the limits yet. I did input everything into Quick Load, and I got us as close as we could get. Now, the problem with these old cartridges and these old military rifles is you're stuck working inside of a very limited pressure max. CIP pressure max for the 7.5 Swiss is somewhere around in the neighborhood of 55,000 PSI. Now, I personally think these rifles could probably handle more, but considering the age, considering it's a collector's item, I'm not going to push the limits. So we're going to be loading right up around 50,000 PSI, a good couple thousand PSI off of max. Case fills there. All the other parameters are there, surprisingly. So scope mount should be in soon. We'll get the scope mount put it on, get the scope put on, we'll get it zeroed. We'll get our 30 loaded up. We're going to do a 5x6 with a 7.5 Swiss, and we'll get back out to the range and shoot it. So see you in a minute. test with the 69 grain SMKs with N130 and AR comp. And we just got done with the 7.5 Swiss loads with the 168 SMKs. And let me tell you, am I happy. You're really limited with these old military rifles, like I said earlier in the video, with the pressure max that you have to stay within. The cases are really big. It just really limits your propellant options, and there's not many out there. So when you can get something that performs this well, you know what, you better stick with it, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Now, before I show you the target, I want you to understand the groups. The groups are tight, but they're kind of all over the place, and the reason that is, I just installed that Bad Ace tactical scope mount, and I ran out of adjustment on my scope because pistol scopes don't have a lot of adjustment. They don't have a wide range of adjustment because the tube's so small. They're 1-inch tubes. So I was taking the scope off, trying to get some mechanical adjustment out of the mount, and I even had one 5-shot group actually go onto the 223 test target. So again, it's going to be kind of hard to see point of impact shift because I was moving everything around. And you know what? It's a good teachable moment. I only took 5 rounds to the range to 0. Center punched it at 25, center punched it at 50, moved to 100, center punched it at 100. The problem with that is with 5 shots and 1 shot, you have no idea what your dispersion is. So let's just say we have a 2-inch rifle or a 1-inch rifle, and our dispersion over 10 or 15 shots looks like that. Well, if you're zeroing and your shot hits down here and you count that as your 0, well, that may not be the case because what if the center of the group is up here? What if it's up here? That's why you have to shoot more shots. I'm not saying you can't zero in 5 shots. I did it. It's just if you have an issue like this, it's not going to show itself. If I'd have taken more rounds to the range, I could have shot a little more and probably fiddled with the scope mount a little more and got some more mechanical adjustment out of it and shot a better test. But either ways, I think the results are conclusive, and I think you guys are going to like them. So again, 1937 Swiss K31 7.5 by 55 Swiss, 168 grain Sierra Match King over K31 N140. And check this target out. So we came in with an average velocity of 2,652 feet per second with a standard deviation of 9.8 for 30 shots. And let me just show you on the Garmin. Look at that. Pretty good, right? Now, I know some people are going to say, well, my 7.5 Swiss shoots a 2 SD for 3 shots. Great. Well, the first 10 shots, they had an ES of 15. That's why you shoot more shots. Again, you got to get the bigger picture. There's nothing to infer from 3 and 5 shot groups. You can shoot multiple different 5-shot groups, but keep the same load and keep the chronograph running. That's how you come to conclusions. So anyways, ran over. I am just ecstatic. So happy with this. First group, 1.788 inches, and this is where I started messing with the scope. You know, I was like, oh man, I'm out of adjustment here. Now, they all kind of started tightening up towards the end, and the reason being is I haven't shot these military surplus rifles in a long time. I've been messing with heavy target rifles for a while now, and I forgot that, you know, a 10-pound rifle bucks. So I started hanging on a little tighter. Next one was 1.215 inches, 1.150 inches for a almost 90-year-old rifle with a scope. Wow. 1.690, 1.460. So overall, the dispersion is, to me, is good. I'm sure there's a K31 out there that shoots better than this. I'm almost positive there is. But for me and my purposes, which is just going out to the range and plinking, because I'm not shooting this in a match, why would I? I really couldn't be happier. So I hope this video helps some of you guys that are loading for your military surplus rifles. I hope it shows you what they're capable of. Because I tell you what, you know, I know military surplus is not the value it used to be. I get that. But you can still get a whole lot of rifle for not a whole lot of money. And a tangible piece of history. A piece of history you can hold and shoot and use. And to me, that's really something. I love my modern rifles. You're going to see a lot of modern rifles on this YouTube channel going forward. Probably a lot of gas guns. I love my SBRs. 10.5 inch 5.56 SBR. I love mine. Best hooligan gun ever. But to me, these old military surplus rifles, especially when they shoot that well, they're really something special. So if you have a K31 and you've never loaded for it, I hope this kind of gets you off the couch and gets you thinking, hey, maybe I should start loading for it. If you have a K31 and it's giving you a little bit of trouble, hey, I hope this shows you, the rifle's capable, and maybe you just need a propellant change. Maybe the propellants in the book aren't going to work out for you. N140 is in the book. Victory has load data for it. I don't know what brass they use in their load data. I'm using Preview Partisan, so the data they have on their website probably won't match up quite to what you're doing. You'll have to play with your powder charges a little bit, but they're capable. So let me know what you want to see next. We've got the N39 7.62x54 video coming up. I have a Bad Ace tactical mount coming for it. I will do an install video with that mount so I can show you guys kind of how they install, how easy they are to install, and also how to adjust them mechanically in case you run out of range with your optic if you're using a 1-inch tubed pistol optic, because correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody knows, please comment down below. I don't think there's any long eye relief style optics with 30mm tube outside of red dots. But if there is, let me know. I'd love to know, because I'd like to pick one up, because that was kind of frustrating having to move the mount around. Let me know if you would like to see some other projectiles tested out of the K31. I've got a bunch of 175 grain tip Match Kings, and the 175 grain tip Match King is pretty close to the original GP11 bullet. How, I can't really tell you. I'd be treading into class material there. But if you have applied ballistics, the Science of Accuracy subscription, and you go in the Legacy Bullet Guide, you can look at 175 TMK. If you have a GP11 bullet, you can kind of compare it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So that might be something interesting to test. And hopefully soon we can get this rifle out and shoot some steel out past, maybe 300 or 400 yards. But got to get the scope mount taken care of first. Got to get some more ammo loaded up, get back out to the range. Try to get it zeroed a little better, because high and to the right's not going to cut it. At least for shooting past 100 yards. For testing groups, it's more than acceptable. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it motivated you. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box down below. Please hit the like button. It drives the YouTube algorithm. Are you with me? Are you with other people? Just please comment, ask questions, and enjoy the content. See you next time on the range.